up, and welcome back to Opposites Attract podcast. This is Sonja Ramirez, your girl, and I'm sitting next to
Miguel Ramirez. How you guys doing?
Awesome, doing good. How are you doing, David?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
All right.
Awesome. So we have the pleasure of having David Hall with us today. David Hall is an expert on introverts, and he's got a book that's called Minding Your Time, Time Management, Productivity, and Success, especially for introverts. Mm-hmm. And he also has a blog called Quiet and Strong.
Quiet and Strong.
Yeah, I like the sound of that.
Yeah, there's a story behind that, but
yeah,
right, we'll get into that.
We'll get into that. And he's also a business owner. And before we get started, we're going to go over our plugs. This podcast is brought to you by Trust Inc. And Trust Inc. is?
We are a mobile notary agency. We do a lot of work with title companies, law firms, and individuals as well. So if you need a document notarized, visit our website. We are also independent associates with Legal Shield, and what Legal Shield does is gives you access to attorneys in the palm of your hand.
Yep. So most of the services that you would use on a regular basis are covered by your membership. So just for example, we had a issue with a cell phone company that had overcharged us, and it wasn't much. It was like $20. And for $20, you're not going to call an attorney.
No.
Right?
No.
But if you have an attorney that you can call whenever you want and they can handle your situations and they're already paid for, then even if it's $20, you can just call them and have them help you.
Yeah. And most people are not going to pick up the phone and call an attorney for $20.
Yeah. So when this company got the letter from our attorney, they ended up going through our records and found out that they had overcharged us more than what we knew. And they wrote us a check for what they owed us.
It was super cool.
So you can find all that at trustinkusa.com, and that's at Trust Inc. You can also go to oppositesattractpod.com, and you can find all the information for the podcast. You can subscribe. You can find the YouTube links. If you go to the top of the website and you click on support the show, you'll see our Amazon affiliate link. So if you buy anything on Amazon through that link, it also helps the show. And you'll also find a link to Trust Inc. at that part of the website.
Yes.
So,
that was a mouthful.
Yeah.
It's always a mouthful.
It is.
He expects me to remember all that stuff. And I'm like,
no, I don't.
No,
no,
I'm not doing that. No. There's no way I'm doing that.
Yeah. So, David, welcome to the show.
All right. Thank you for having me. It's exciting.
Yeah,
So,
we're excited to have you here.
David and I met, a few weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. He had this stranger knocking on his door.
Yeah, we were, I can plug your business too. We were refinancing on our house. As we're going to talk about, we're all very busy people, and Sonja came over to our house at 8:30 p.m., and me and my wife were able to sign our documents right there at our dining room table. It was awesome.
Nice.
And everything's closed now, and life is good.
Heck yeah.
High
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, so when Sonja told me that you study introverts, I thought that it was pretty interesting. Because I don't know, how long ago was it? Like 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah.
No, it's probably more than that because it was in the old house. So it was probably like maybe 4 years ago that, I don't know, I just kind of started. Well, we always knew that there was something different about us.
Yes.
But you know what? I think I Googled something like, why don't I talk to people when I go to their house? Like, because you, I think what it was is that, like, we had gone to your family's house or something like that.
That's what it,
And you were like, how come you just sit there?
Yes.
And you don't say anything?
Like, my mom and dad was like, I don't think he likes us. Like, seriously, and he was so quiet. And my mom and them, like, they
quiet and
weren't
strong,
too
right?
fond of you.
you.
But they weren't too fond of you because of that, because there was no interaction going on, and so.
But if we started talking about something that we had in common, then I had no problem talking.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I bet it's not very quiet in your mind, even when you might be quiet, right? Your mind is always going.
Okay, so she's going to say,
story, David. So I'm laying on the bed because I hadn't finished your book yet. Okay. So I'm laying on the bed.
This was just before you got here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm reading the book. Funny. And you start talking about how you guys get caught up in your thoughts. Like, you're deep thinkers. You think before you speak, right? Mm-hmm. So while I'm reading this, I look up and I see my husband looking at his shoe in deep thought.
Like, I'm getting ready for the podcast. And I'm just sitting there staring at one of my shoes.
And I just busted out laughing because I knew he was thinking, like, so I looked at him and he's like, what? I'm like, what are you thinking?
Yeah. So I spilled some stuff on the shoe and I'm just like, yeah, I spilled this over at my mother-in-law's house. I don't know how I'm going to get this stuff out of this shoe. And I'm just and then she's just like cracking up laughing. But yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. But we go through that a lot.
Yeah.
Where you're just quiet and I'm like, what are you thinking? Because now I know. When before I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's going on?
Yeah. And it's usually things that are important to me. Like I'm usually thinking about the podcast, usually thinking about jujitsu or the family,
And if I had to guess, again, listening to a few episodes, I would have guessed those exact 3 things about you.
Yeah.
So half of the population, it's about a 50-50 split between introverts and extroverts.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of misunderstanding. People think it means shy. It absolutely doesn't. You can be, I know some very outspoken introverts. But it just means that you naturally turn inward more often. And you are thinking about things that are really important to you. Whereas the extrovert is really just more focused on what's going on around them. And if everybody pays attention to what's going on, but it's just your focus as an introvert is more about, you go inward, you use your imagination and you're thinking about things. Again, it's things that are important to you.
Yeah.
I would love to do jiu-jitsu, but, I'm not thinking about that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about other things, maybe my blog or, my family or how to make my, business run smoother or things like that. Again, some people think it means shy. The good news is if someone is shy, that can be overcome. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it is introversion that's causing it. But if you understand your introversion and you're shy, you can overcome it.
Okay.
So, for example, something that might make you shy. You're being quiet. People are pointing that out to you.
That makes you more shy.
It makes it worse.
Yeah.
Someone says, "Why are you so quiet?" And it just makes you uncomfortable because you're like, I don't have a really good response to that.
When somebody says that, I kind of feel like, what do I look like, a clown?
Yeah.
Like, am I here to entertain you? Like, you say something and then I'll jump in,
It was affecting our relationship for a little bit.
Yeah.
Because like I'm a huge extrovert. To me, I'm like, oh my God, I got 2 people in my podcast room. And I just didn't know. I'm like, what's going on? Like, I want to go hang out. I want to party. And he would take me out. I had no idea like he was an introvert because he would do things, I want to go out. He's like, well, let's go. But when I just get started, he's done. Like, he's like ready to go. And I'm like, wait a minute, there's still people here.
Well, for her getting started, that's like, we're already at the bar or the club or whatever for 3 hours. And she's like, this party's just getting started.
Yeah. And again, you like to do things, but 3 hours later, it's enough, right?
Yeah.
And so I used to get really upset, but I have learned just, doing research and him helping out, bringing it to light that, it was my responsibility to respect, just to meet him in the middle.
Absolutely. And I wrote a blog post recently. Somebody said to me that their son wanted to be an actor, but they were introvert. I'm like,
I was reading that.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, of course he can. I think a lot of actors are introverts. Or I heard you say that you're interested in comedy. I think a lot of comedians are introverts.
And I've heard that too, like comedians that they do their thing on stage, but then once they get off stage with all the people coming up to them, and it's like, they do what they have to do, but they would much rather just like run away.
Yeah.
Instead of meeting 1,000 people in a line.
And that's the thing too. It's like, we do like to do things, but we also just need to know what we need. Like, I was at a conference yesterday and I have a friend, and maybe Sonja's probably the same way, but if she goes into a room of 50 strangers, she wants to meet all of them right away. Is that true for you?
I'm like, hello, everybody.
And myself, I want to have some good conversations, but maybe with a couple people, and deep conversations about something that I'm interested in. And sometimes that's the hard thing, is finding that where you're able to talk about something you're interested in.
Yeah.
But even, you definitely, if kind of breaking that ice and doing the small talk, if that's a challenge for any introverts, that can be overcome too.
Yeah.
It's not to say you have to be something other than yourself, but you can learn to, kind of have those small talk conversations and break the ice. And then often it gets to those conversations that you really want to have.
So go ahead. Sorry.
So tell us, what got you interested in studying introversion? Like, how did that come up?
Okay. So I have always been interested in success. Like, why are some people so successful and other people not so much? And, I studied psychology in college. I got a bachelor's degree in that. I got a master's in counseling. And I started to learn about introversion. And just as I was reading about it, it's like, wow, this is really me. I took the Myers-Briggs test is really helpful. It gives you like a 4-letter code, and the first one is an I or an E. And again, I want to be really clear too that neither are good or bad. Mm-hmm. For some reason, we're all created differently, and I think that's on purpose. We all kind of need each other for different reasons. We have different strengths. There's a lot of strengths that come from introversion or extroversion, and you just have to kind of figure out what your strengths are. And the other thing that's really important, especially like with time management or other things, is what you need. And, one thing, like, for example, that I found that I need is I need a little bit of time. So for the first hour and a half of work, I've blocked that off so people can't schedule meetings, because I have a lot of meetings.
Yeah.
And that's nice. I have some time to do stuff. Now, would I like to be alone all day? Absolutely not. I get bored out of my mind. I do like to interact. I do like to talk to people, but I need some time. And that's what you have to figure out. What kind of time do you need? What do you need to be successful? And so, and as I'm having these conversations, there's just so much that people still don't understand. We don't understand about ourselves and each other. Like, here's what I'm really good at. Let me do that. Here's what you're good at. I'll let you do that. And then what do you need? Let's do that. And for example, sometimes that's even weird. Like if you want that first hour and a half by yourself, people think it's strange, but why? It makes me better. It makes me better. If you're working with me, it makes me better for you. But so why is that? Do we think that kind of thing is strange?
Yeah. And I think like the research that I've done over the past few years, I mean, I really got into it heavy when I first found out about it. Like I looked up some videos. There's a video that I looked at by Brian Little. He has a TED Talk, and I found it on YouTube. I think it's like a 15-minute video. And they were talking about how like introverts, when you're by yourself, that's what kind of recharges you. Where for an extrovert, being around people is what charges you. Mm-hmm. And, like you're saying, in the beginning of the day, like if you spend that time by yourself, it's kind of charging you up to go out and interact with the people that, that are out there that you have to deal with throughout the day.
Exactly.
Very true.
When did you find out, like how long has it been when you started looking into this and you started noticing, the differences between people's personalities?
I got my bachelor's over 20 years ago, but it's been been a process. Of nailing down. I did some training with the Myers-Briggs test probably about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And the person that was facilitating that, she said something that was really key to all this too. She said, introverts think to speak, extroverts think... No, did I say that wrong? Introverts think and then speak.
And
extroverts think to speak.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like we speak to think, like after we say something, then we're like, oh, wait a minute.
It's diarrhea of the mouth.
Yeah. And it's
Shut
not.
Well, he says that because he's like, you got diarrhea of the mouth.
Well, sometimes when you think that if you say we think first and then speak, sometimes people think it's a self-censoring thing, but it's just a physical thing. You have to. Like the thought comes in, you think about it, and then it comes out of your mouth. And that might be a second, could be 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And you just have to know that about yourself. Again, if you don't understand that, if someone's talking to you because they're thinking and you're trying to think and then speak, that can really kind of mess with you and make you shy as well. Yeah. But if you understand that and sometimes just ask, like, hey, I'm thinking, I need some time to think about that.
Yes. I thought that was when I was reading your book and you had mentioned that. I'm like, you know what? That's great. Because sometimes I'll be talking to him and I'm like, hello, are you listening to me? Don't I ask you that? What, you know, are you listening to me? What did I just say? I'll test him. What did I just say?
I mean, that may be
he's thinking of.
That may be an introvert extrovert thing.
Well, that's what he just said.
But I think that's just people, because people also, like, we're always, like, somebody will be talking, you're not listening. You just want to think about what you're going to say back. So, I mean, there may be
that's
introvert,
an extrovert thing.
but I think that might just be a people thing.
There's something to that with people.
Yeah.
And for me and for introverts, I think it also depends on how familiar you are with the topic. Like right now, what we're talking about, I can talk about all day.
Yeah.
You know, if we started talking about martial arts, I probably would be pausing a little bit more. You know,
like you choke a what? You choke?
You know,
how do you choke?
So it depends on the topic sometimes. If you have to think about it or not, if it's fresh in your head.
Yeah. So can somebody that is an introvert become an extrovert? And can an extrovert become an introvert?
Okay. I'm going to say no. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different opinions out there, but the way I go into my head naturally, that's always going to exist. And that's, to me, what makes me an introvert. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was really funny. I kind of had an epiphany while I was doing this. There's another instrument I like a lot. It's called the Strengths Finder. And so I was helping train my organization on that. Like I was one of the facilitators. And, you know, the idea behind it is similar to this. It's like, focus on what you're really good at. Focus on your strengths. And we had a lot of people that were kind of sitting in the room like, oh, you guys are full of crap. This is not, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about this. And then I'm talking with a neighbor. And we're just kind of, you know, getting to know each other a little bit. And like, where do you work? And, you know, we told each other. And he's like, oh, that's right across the street from me. And I'm like, really? And at this point, I'd probably been driving by his company like for 10 years. I'm not joking. And his company is huge.
Yeah.
But while I'm driving, I naturally am in my head. I'm thinking. Yeah. And so it was crazy to me that I didn't know that I couldn't have named his company that was right across the street from mine. And that's just the point. I don't think that we change. I think we get to know ourselves better.
Yeah.
So I think I'm always going to naturally go into my head. Again, if someone's calling introvert shyness, which it's not, then yeah, you can overcome shyness. You can become more confident. You can know, here's what I'm good at. Or here, I need to think before I speak. That's natural for me. And I just need to tell people, hey, I'm thinking, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't think that we switch, but I think we can become much more confident in who we are.
Once we become aware, because now that my eyes have been open, I notice that I do speak more, you know, I think more before I speak now. And I tend to process my thoughts or my feelings before I react. Like I will go into meditation prayer real quick, you know, if I'm feeling a certain way, because I don't know if I'm just in my head, you know, why I'm feeling this way. So I tend now to kind of process my thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're always going to be an extrovert, but you can understand what you're good at and where you might need to use your skills in a different way, just like you explained.
Right.
Yeah. So when, like in getting ready for this podcast, I was kind of going through some of the stuff that I've looked up before and checking out your blog. And one thing that I found that I hadn't seen before was an ambivert. Mm-hmm. And when I looked at that video, I was like, I kind of relate a lot to that video even more so than the introvert. Because even when I saw the qualities or the characteristics of an introvert, I was like, yeah, I can see a lot of that, but maybe not everything. And then when I saw the ambivert, it's kind of, they lean, I don't know what you think about that, but it seems like they lean more towards introvert, but they can kind of do more of the extroverted stuff. What do you think about that?
Okay. I'm not sure. I've definitely written about that word. I'm not sure if it's a thing or not. I will tell you that there is no introvert or extrovert that's the same. We're complex people, as individuals. And And there is a spectrum. Like I said, like I need a little bit of time alone each day. I don't want the whole day.
Yeah.
So to me, it's not introversion, extroversion isn't about your social ability, because I think you can change that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times when people are using that term, they're thinking it's more like sociability and that they can become more social. But an introvert, again, if you understand yourself, if you understand what you want, and that's what this is all about too. Are you getting what you want out of life? And if not, how can you look at your strengths and needs and change that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, no matter what, introvert, ambivert, extrovert, there's a continuum. So, as far as, to me, it's how much time are you spending in your head versus how much time are you focused on what's
and different
going on
people,
around you.
different people probably need different things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was taking a look at that video, I told you, I showed it to her that this is one of the reasons why I love the internet, because you never know what you're going to find. But in that video,
don't believe everything you read.
There's
or
a comment from somebody that said, my Uncle Herbert was not an introvert. He was not an extrovert. He was not an ambivert. He was a pervert.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I mean, one of the things that I was also thinking about, like, when Sonja and I met, we met in Legal Shield. And, in that business, we would sell, legal services, identity theft protection. And it was tough. It was tough for me. I don't know what your experience is with introverts and sales. Like, for her, she would kill it.
Yeah.
And for me, I had to force myself to go out and talk to people. And I could do it, but I was worn out. At the end of the day, I was just like, I need to be left alone for a while. Like, I just don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear people talking anymore. I just want to just relax. And it was the same thing. Like, a big part of the business is making follow-up calls. And you know what? That reminds me of my grandfather. When I would call my grandfather, his own grandson, I would call him and, hey, how you doing? And once he realized that the purpose of this phone call was done, do you remember what he would say?
Oh, no.
He would say,
I don't remember.
I don't chit chat. And that was it.
Yeah, that's
To his
right.
own grandson.
That's right.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Wow.
That's
It's
right.
freaking funny, man.
Most people that feel that way aren't going to say that directly.
was-
Oh,
It
his
was
grandfather
straight up.
was out there.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it was funny. But I think that also kind of hindered me when it came to picking up the phone and calling people, because when I would call people, I'm not messing around.
No, it was straight
I'm
to the
calling.
point.
I met you regarding legal services, and I'm calling you regarding legal services. So hey, this is Miguel. I met you the other day about Legal Shield, and I would just like hit him with it. And a lot of people,
Yeah.
I mean,
There was no rapport building.
Right.
so what do you think, like, when it comes to sales and introvert and that type of thing? Do you have any experience with that?
So, a couple different things. With the job, sometimes people try to say there's a particular kind of job for introverts or extroverts. Yeah. For the most part, I don't agree with that. I think that you can do most jobs that you want to do, just it's going to look different. You're going to approach things in sales. Like, I don't want to be in sales. Okay. I think I've probably tried a couple times and it might have lasted a couple days, but you could do it. You're just going to do it differently. You're going to be, Sonja's probably a lot better at building relationships instantly, right?
It's insane.
That's how you're here.
It is
Yeah,
insane.
Exactly. And again, as an introvert, you tend to build relationships more slowly, but you build them. And that's the other thing too. You have to figure out, and this applies to, we can apply these things to how we do interact with people, whether that be in business or in our lives. Maybe I don't want to chit chat. I'm probably not going to be like your grandfather.
I don't chit chat.
Just come right out and say that. That's awesome. But yeah, I'm going to have to start saying that.
Yeah.
No, but you got to figure out what's the right amount of chit chat to have. And, because I'm the same way, I can just get right down to business too.
Yeah.
And I can think of a recent meeting I had with a fellow introvert, and we probably scheduled it for half an hour and we were done in 10 minutes and it was
That's
fine.
funny.
It was awesome,
Yeah.
But what is the right amount? And again, I've also figured out that I actually enjoy a little bit of chat and getting to know people and things like that. But you can definitely get better at it. So somebody can go into sales and they just need to figure out what that means for them.
Yeah.
Like I'm very analytical and strategic. I might really make some strategies in figuring out how I'm going to work with customers.
Or if it's something that you're passionate about.
Yes.
I guess
I was going to put that in there too.
Right?
Yes.
Because if it's something that you're passionate about, you could, even as an introvert, you could probably talk about it all day.
Right. I mean, look at you in the podcast.
Yeah. True.
You know?
Yeah. And that's so someone might say that doesn't know how this all works. He's an introvert. Why the heck would he want to start a podcast? But you love this. I can tell.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
And I want to ask you that too. So what made you want to do this?
You know what? I've listened to so many podcasts. Like I've listened to podcasts now for probably about 10 years. And I've listened to all different kinds of podcasts. And I saw that, Sonja has a following on Facebook and that she would do these Facebook Lives and people would, she would get a lot of traction, a lot of viewers on these videos. And I just kind of thought that it would be cool just to, for her audience to be able to reach her. And then, our relationship, like a lot of people look at us and we have a great relationship and we can just kind of put it out there and I don't know, maybe help some people out. And also the thought of having something that's ours, that it's nobody else's. Like nobody can tell us anything about this. It's 100% ours. Yeah.
That's great. And that's when we met. We were talking. She told me what your podcast was just called, and I was like intrigued right away because I do present with a friend of mine that's very different than me. We approach life oppositely.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we get good work done and we understand each other. She knows that I might need to think about something, and it might not just be let me think about that for a second. It might be let me get back to you tomorrow. And sometimes my best work is done by giving something some thought and not making a quick decision, but just helping people understand that there's not a one size fits all to life and business and things, that there's different ways. And sometimes it's not right or wrong. It's just different.
Is it an introverted thing to be thinking in the shower all the time? Like that's what, because she asked, like, I'll tell her, I'll come out of the shower and I'm like, you know what I was thinking? She's like, you're thinking while you're taking a shower? I'm like, yeah, I think about all kinds of stuff when I'm taking a shower. And I'm just sitting there, scrubbing my head. And I'm like, you know what I should be doing?
And I don't have anything to write with,
Yeah.
And that's another thing too, that I've really learned is, and I write about, is when you have those ideas, because I think in the shower too, or I think in my truck on the drive to and from.
Yeah.
And,
or like on a run or something like that.
You get all these ideas and it's important to capture them so that you can keep having ideas, so they're not just in your head. Like maybe it's something you need to do or something you want to do, and it's important to somehow get that off your mind, but it's kind of hard to do that in the shower.
Yeah. You got to get out and write it down.
Yeah,
right
write
away.
it down or, send yourself a email or something.
That's something that we don't do, or at least I know I don't do enough of.
Yeah, you're my notepad.
Get a journal to write stuff down, because a lot of stuff just disappears if you don't write it down.
I send him messages, or I'll be somewhere and I usually have a journal, but if I don't and I need to write something down, I'll send it to him.
Yeah, you sent me
and a text message
the other day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell is this?
It was a restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I was meeting with somebody. I was signing somebody, doing their documents, and he told me, you and your husband should go to this restaurant. And I'm like, oh, No, so.
I text you back. I'm like, what is this? And you said something about, like, I needed to remember it or whatever. And I sent you back as a guy, I'm not your notepad.
So a lot of times that's to myself. I use Evernote, which is kind of cool because it's just on any device.
Yeah.
So I put it on my phone, and then it's on any of my computers or tablet or wherever. So that's kind of cool. If I'm driving, I might hands-free call myself and just say, hey, remember to do this, or this is something you might want. So, but yeah, we have a lot of ideas, and it's important to capture them.
Yeah. There was something that I was looking up that was saying, like, the extrovert, a lot of people that start businesses are extroverts, and then people that will run those businesses are introverts. What do you think about that? Because it seemed like it to start a business, that it's like more of an artistic, or like, hey, let's do this, and then you kind of like, that's pretty much it. Then you need somebody to get down and plan everything out, which seems like more of an introverted skill.
Yeah, it definitely could be, and it's it could be a partnership. It just depends. I mean, and that's the other thing. It's important to partner.
Yeah.
Yes. I've been trying to get him to manage me forever, and he just doesn't want to. But now he's wanting my help with the podcast. So I'm like, hey, buddy, you want my help with this podcast? Well, guess what? Trust Inc. is calling your name.
Yeah.
It's funny because I'm married to an introvert, and she does have a business. Again, much like yourselves, we're very involved with each other.
So you guys are both introverted?
Yes.
Okay.
But, like I help her with the books. She's very creative. She does marketing, graphic design. She's now a photographer. She does like real estate and headshots and things like that. And she doesn't want me to manage her either. So.
I could have met if we're introverts and I come up to you and you're like, leave me alone. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Turn around and walk away.
It's fascinating. And also, she did the nice cover and she did my headshot and everything. So and she's my editor.
Nice.
And it's fascinating because we've been married a long time, over 20 years, and through her editing and our conversations, we got to know each other even better, which is crazy because
you guys talk.
Yeah, we talk. And that's the thing too. It's we definitely are best friends. We love to talk to each other, but then sometimes maybe I do need some space. And she wants to talk, or maybe she needs some space and I want to talk, and we just have to kind of work through that. Our house came with a really nice built-in loft, and it has 2 workstations. And I'll talk about workstations in a second too. But, and it was fascinating because I'm trying to talk to her, especially like I'm writing my blog, and she's kind of ignoring me. I'm like, "What's up?" And I realized that she was really deep in thought, and this is after being married for years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it's just, we need to keep having these conversations and get to know each other.
Yes.
And maybe I'm old or something, but I get up early now. She stays up late because that's when her quiet time is.
Yeah.
Or maybe she wanted to go to the store by herself because she just wants to get away from her, me and the kids and just be by herself for a bit. And again, it's just kind of getting to know those things. But even as introverts, we have our differences. I found out early on that we couldn't share a desk. And this doesn't the introvert extrovert thing. So if you look at the Myers-Briggs, like I'm an INTJ, and
I got the same score too.
You got INTJ?
Yeah, I got the same.
Cool. Very cool.
What did I get?
I don't know. It's on your phone.
On my phone.
Yeah.
Let me see.
But
I asked him.
So, and she's an INTP, which is almost the same. The J stands for judging, and it means that I'm more scheduled.
I judge everybody.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't exactly mean judging, but it just means I'm more. I like my life to be more ordered.
Yeah.
The P is perceiving, and it means kind of more spontaneous, and so that's something that's different about us. And so, what was yours? I have to put on my reading glasses.
ESFJ.
Yeah. Okay.
Introvert. Sensing, feeling, judging. But that was 1%.
He's like, I knew
judging
it.
was 1%.
Yeah, so in your case, one of those things is the same, the judging part. And again, that's more orderly.
Mm-hmm. But that's only 1%.
Yeah, just a tiny sliver.
So, and the big takeaway for this, it's actually good for us because I definitely worry more than she does about things, and probably things I shouldn't worry about. She worries less, and she sometimes can really bring calm to me. Like when I'm worrying about something I shouldn't worry about, she's definitely, more spontaneous and free, and that's nice. I also bring more order to her, whether she likes it or not. But again, if I was to, when we first got married and we tried to share a desk, she had organized disorder, and I, like my desk will get messy during the day, but at the end of the day I cleaned it all up. But
yeah,
so we couldn't share a desk. But anyway, and my point of this is we're happy, and we need to, the only way we're going to stay happy is if I realize what her gifts are, and if I don't try to change her. If I tried to change her or she tried to change me, it would not work. But understanding what we bring to each other, we're happy.
Yes. I think the underlying, like the foundation is knowing yourself and being real and honest with yourself. And I think you mentioned this. You mentioned that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
That's the key to it all is, what's the quote? I think it's knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. And it's in here. I should know.
I probably highlighted it. You're like, I should know
Aristotle, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember it's been a while since we had a party here at the house. But I remember, like, in the old house, there was a couple times where we would have a party and all of a sudden I would just disappear. And everybody's like, "Where's Miguel?" I'd be like, I'd be in the room sleeping already.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't say anything. I'm just like, all right, I'm out.
Snuck away.
I've had enough, you know. But yeah, that would be pretty funny.
Disappearing on your own parties.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, you just have to know what you need, and sometimes, you know, we were talking earlier. They say that, you know, we get recharged from being alone. That's not always the case with me. Definitely, that's true. But if I'm talking about things that are exciting to me, that can be just as, you know, just as charging. Sometimes I may want to, you know, take a break after. Like if I, you know, probably I wouldn't do another podcast right after this one. I love talking with you guys.
Yeah.
I'm probably, after we're done here,
You got to go chill.
Yeah, I'll probably go chill.
Yeah.
But again, I need to know that. And I could plan that into my day. What's going to drain me today? Can I take a break after that? And, you know, it differs in the amount of time, how we can control our schedule or not. But luckily, I can put breaks in where I need to most of the time.
You know, that's something that used to kind of confuse you. When I started sending you the introvert thing, you know, I was like, I think there's something to this when I first found out about it. But when we were working Legal Shield together, like, I liked doing the presentations. I liked doing the trainings. And even at my job now, like, we would have tours of our facility. And I enjoy giving the tours to the people that come through and being in the front and, you know, cracking a few jokes and sharing stuff. Like, I enjoy that kind of thing. And then like you were saying, the whole comedy thing, I've thought about doing that in the podcast. And she's like, how? Well, especially at first, she's like, how is it that you could say that you're introverted when you like doing all these things? Yeah. But I do remember, like, after the training, I had no problem talking to people afterwards. But once we were walking out of that room, like, it's like time to decompress. Time to just, I mean, we can go grab a drink or do something, but I just want to, you know, I think being with people that I'm close to, it doesn't drain me as much. Absolutely. Like, if I'm with Sonja, if I'm with the kids, if I'm with people that I'm really close to, it's not as draining. If I'm with people that I don't know as well and I have to, you know, make a bunch of conversation, then that starts to get a little exhausting.
And that's what's draining, is when you're trying to think of things to say and it's not coming to you. But when you're with people you care about or talking about things you care about, it's a whole different thing. And I've written about that too. It's, you know, I don't like when people just say, "Oh, introverts are drained by people." That's just too much of a generalization. Yeah. It's like, I say I'm drained by certain people, sure, and situations. And it's that, like, you know, I wrote about one afternoon I spent with my brothers and sisters. We have a large family, and we just talked forever, talked about, you know, crazy stuff we did when we were kids, and it was fun, and I wasn't drained at all. But then, you know, if I'm, like, yesterday I was at a conference, and I'm sitting in this big room, everyone's trying to talk, and it's just so loud you can't hear anything. You know, you're trying to have a conversation and you can't hear the other person. That's draining to me.
See, I don't know if that's an introvert thing. I mean, I don't know, because I've found that lately I get drained, like, being around people. And, you know, I've been referred to an empath. I'm very intuitive. But being around, I think it has to do with all energy. If you put yourself in a room with good energy, people that you like, people that are positive, people that, I think that's what, for me, it feeds me. It feeds me. Yeah. But if I'm around people that are negative and just, you know, their energy is not good, I come home and I'm drained. And I'm like, you know, I need quiet. Yeah. I need quiet. I need the kids to turn off the music. I need them to stop talking, and I just need some peace, and I need quiet.
Yeah.
So, like, let's say you go to an event, and the event has great energy. It has great people. There's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, it's an awesome event all the way around. After the event, how do you feel?
Great.
Like what are we doing after the event?
Yeah. Well, yeah. For the most part, yeah.
For you, it's like, it's time to party.
Yeah.
Let's go. Where, I mean, for me, sometimes like, all right, this event was awesome. I loved it. It was a blast.
Okay.
Now I want to hang out.
Exactly.
I want to chill.
Okay.
And I think, Sonja, something you said, there's something that's probably draining about you being an empath. Okay. Because Miguel and I were not empaths. And that was a really crazy thing to figure out too. So sometimes when you're having these workshops, like again, mine was with the Strengths Finder, and somebody I was sitting with, like with Strengths Finder, you have 34 strengths and they tell you your top 5, and her top 1 was empathy. And I definitely have empathy, but not in the way it was defined. And I really learned something where when she said that she felt other people's emotions, and I'm like, well, that's not happening for me. And I'm like, it's not that I don't care about people, because I do deeply, but I'm not feeling, and I don't know why I was created like that, and you were created where you're feeling people's, but there's a lot of good that you can do feeling people's emotions. And mine's just more of a logical approach. And so with me, my empathy is more in my head, like I'm trying to imagine in my mind, using my imagination, what it's like to be in somebody else's shoes, where you're, really feeling that. And that's another thing. If you don't understand that, and you're, one person's is more analytical and one person's more feeling, you can really have some misunderstandings and think that other person doesn't care because they're not responding the way you think they should. And that's another thing that we need to understand.
Yeah. Yeah, you had said something about, or I think you were talking about the music. Like the music was real loud, or I can't remember exactly, but I remember being in the car one day with you. Do you remember this? We were in the car. Well, yeah, it happened earlier today a couple times. No, but there was one time that we were, I don't know if we were kind of like stressed out or something was going on, but yeah, I think we were kind of getting stressed out. And we got in the car, and
I remember.
The first thing she does is crank the music. And it was driving me insane. Like, all I wanted to do was just shut the music off and just be quiet for a minute. But it was just so funny how opposite, how different we are. Like, your first instinct is like, you know what? I need to blast this music and just forget about everything. And mine is like, I just need to turn everything off and just, like, be quiet for a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, we're all different. If I want to forget about everything, I am going to turn the music really loud. But if I want to think, then I'm not. So we just have to figure out, okay, what do I need?
Yeah.
And what do those people around me need?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I was really excited to have you here, because, my husband is an introvert and there are people around me that are introverts. And so in order for me to be a better mother or friend or wife, these are things that we need to educate ourselves on, just how to work with those, people around us that may be introverts or extroverts, and find out how to come together and create happiness and rainbows and flowers.
But I mean, it can apply to parenting,
Yes.
And here's another epiphany. I have 3 kids, all different. And
do you have any extrovert kids?
Yes, 2 of the 3.
How is that?
That's what I'm saying. We come with our personalities.
Yeah.
I'm convinced of it. And, if you have a brother or sister, or you just, we raised our kids the same, and they just are different. And, with the extrovert, sometimes you just need to adapt and realize, okay, I want to be alone right now, but my little daughter, she needs some time, and I need to give that to her, even though I really want to be alone right now.
Yeah.
Or with my son, not worried if he's spending a lot of time in his room, because that's normal. And it's also interesting too, like, with my extroverted kids, they have so many different friends. I can't keep up. You know, I don't. Who are you going with today? With my other son, it's more like, you know, he has a small group of friends, really close friends, and that's just normal for him. And that's the other thing we have to understand. Now, it's never an excuse. Like, I don't want to say, oh, well, it's fine if he spends all of his time in his room. I want to encourage him to use his gifts and do things and be encouraging, but at the same time, you know, not tell an extroverted kid, why are you, or introverted kid, why are you so quiet?
Yeah.
You know, or maybe an extrovert.
Or what are you doing in there by yourself all the time?
Right.
Yeah.
So just be supportive, but understanding where they're coming from. But again, I have 2 extroverts and 1 introvert, and, you know, we raised them basically the same, but they just have, and even the extroverts are definitely very different kids. You know, my daughter is a lot more crafty and probably more empathic and things like that. And my other extroverted son is definitely probably a lot more like me, an analytical thinker, just extroverted.
Do you find that
That's
extroverts are more artistic?
I think it could go either way.
Yeah. You know, because I think we talked about it on one of our previous podcasts. Like, I've made music, rap music. But even with that, it's very structured. Like, I write very structured in a certain way. I don't know if that's an introverted quality or characteristic.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think like the more artsy painting and all that might be an extroverted thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it could go either way. And again, there's a lot, you know, just even looking at what the Myers-Briggs brings out, you know, it's introvert, extrovert, but then the next one is more big picture versus, you know, little details, or thinking versus feeling, or being more scheduled versus more spontaneous. There's a lot more, you know, there's definitely a lot more to it. So I don't really know on the creativity thing. I think it probably could go either way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we have one of each, right?
Yeah.
They're just like us. Our daughter is just like her.
Okay.
And our son is just like me. Sometimes he'll just go in his room and you'll see, and he may be looking at something on his tablet, or he might be playing with his Legos or his Transformers, but he'll just be in there by himself, just hanging
playing
out.
with his crabs.
Yeah, watching his crabs.
For hours. He'll just watch his crabs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, you just have to get to know and, you know, just figure out, you know, that we all are different and we each have our different strengths, and support them in their strengths, but not worry too much, you know, if they're not a certain way.
Yeah. Nice. So, yeah, we had, I don't know if it's like being quiet at work sometimes. I was, I don't know if it was a video that I had watched, but it was saying something about like at work, when it comes to like moving up and getting into like a management position, like sometimes I can't remember what I was watching. I wish I could remember, but this was a while ago. But it was saying something like that extroverts sometimes they get looked at more for management type things because they're so out. Like they'll just come out and they're like, you know what, where an introvert, like they're thinking about like they would be great, but they may not be as open to speak all the time. But they're thinking about everything that's happening at work, and they would be great for a management position. They're just sometimes overlooked because they're not as outgoing as an extrovert would be. What I mean, does that make sense? Or?
Yes, definitely. I've thought about this a lot too. Introverts can make amazing leaders, but it's different. Everybody needs to work hard. If you want to move up, you just need to work hard. That's extrovert, introvert. But you do have to, as an introvert, you do have to work hard at making your ideas known, making your voice heard, and you have to think about that. Like, how am I sharing what these great ideas I have, or how am I showing what I'm doing? And that's a challenge. It's been a challenge for me.
So that's something that you kind of have to practice and get good at. It's just like, hey, when you have something going on, you have to kind of put it out there, like get used to putting it out there.
Something that I've written about, one thing about, so with, you know, I don't know if we even talked about this yet, but as I'm figuring out that I'm an introvert, I'm also just bombarded with so much stuff at work, you know, just like you all, you know, I have a job, I have a business with my wife, I have a family, you know, I like to spend time with.
Yeah.
And I'm reading all these things on time management, and I'm figuring out, oh, there's a connection here between what I need and what's going on. And so something that's really helped is preparation. Like, and I can be jealous of my extroverted friends all day long if they can just wing stuff, if they can get up and give a speech and wing it. I can be, or I can do my work and prepare. Okay.
Yeah, she's like, I don't need no notes. I'm like, what do you mean you don't need notes?
So
you haven't gone over this like 10,000 times already?
Yeah. So I was happy that, we were a little later in the afternoon today because a couple hours before I actually read my book and just what do I want to, I wanted to get things fresh in my head.
Yeah.
So preparation for the introvert, so whether that's doing a good job or getting moved up, is key. And how that looks for me is, and again, when we're talking about these things, it could apply either way. You just have to think about what you need. But in my book, I say especially for introverts when I'm talking about this stuff. So like either before I leave work for the week or maybe like for next week, this weekend, I'll probably look at my schedule and just see what I have going on. Is there anything I need to prepare for? If I'm in that meeting, what's going to be discussed? Am I ready? Do I need to do some more research? What questions do I want to be sure that I ask? And I write them down so I'm ready for that meeting. And so again, it's one way as you're asking to just make sure that your voice is heard. Yeah. Or if you're the leader and you have a large group of people, make sure that everybody is heard. So maybe someone, if some, there's a couple people that maybe they are, dominating the meeting, there's somebody else with a really good idea. You have to give them an opportunity and just kind of watch for that. Like,
if somebody's quiet,
do you have, you don't want to put them on the spot too much, but you want to make sure that they're saying what they need to say.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So preparation is key to all this, whether that be giving a speech or being in a meeting, whatever. Is because we do like to think about things. And if you can get it ready ahead of time, you'll do that much better and do your job better and show yourself off better for that promotion and things like that.
What do you think, babe? Like because you like doing the speaking stuff, right? When you do the speaking stuff, how do you feel like you can just go out there like, I got a general idea of what we're going to talk about and go for it?
I do
Is that
feel
how you
that
feel?
way. I do, because then I feel if I prepare, I feel that I do worse if I prepare. It's so weird.
That's so crazy.
And I've experimented with that, for presentations. And I'm over here thinking about what I practiced instead of coming from the heart. So I'm more heartfelt. Like I know what I'm needing to give. I know what they need. I know what they want me to do. So
did you say we have no hearts right now?
I do.
I think
Is that what you just said? Hey,
I'm gonna get.
You're surrounded right now.
I know. I have two introverts.
So you better take it easy.
But I just do a prayer and I'm like, God, speak through me and allow me to, get what they need across. And when I speak from the heart, it comes out amazing and so genuine versus if I practice it and I'm over here feeling like a robot. What did you say? Or if I have my cards in front of me and all of a sudden I'm flipping through my cards and they all get messed up and now I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I don't like to have my cards in front of me either. But if I can think ahead of time and get it all in my head and it'd be, I am a little jealous because I have a lot of friends that are like you that can just get up and speak, but I know myself and I know that I have to prepare.
Yeah. And I think that's what's important is knowing yourself, knowing what's going to help you.
Yeah, that would be like miserable, like knowing that I have to go and speak on something that I haven't really thought about. I mean, not something that I haven't thought about, just something I haven't planned out. That would be like torturous. Because no, for real. I mean, for those of you that can't see it watching the podcast, I mean, you can see my notes, my list is like, topic 1, 2, 3, topic 1, 2, 3. It's like I gotta have something. I have to go over it and see.
Yeah.
I can't just.
And David, he made one for me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't use it at all. Yeah. She never uses it.
I do use it. I use it.
And then when I go to print it out, I can't even recognize it because you've jacked it all up. It was funny.
Because my thoughts come so quick and I'm trying to text while I'm driving or something. No,
Oh man.
kidding.
Yeah. But you know what? One thing that I have found, like with us over the years, like we've kind of realized the differences between us, and we both kind of give in to each other,
Right.
Just to kind of make the relationship work.
Not given. We
or-
understand each other. It's a give and take.
Well, exactly. Yeah. Like I know she likes to go out, and when I may not want to go out, I'll go out anyway. But over the years, she's also kind of learned that when I'm like, so like, let's say we go to a party together, I'll hang in there longer than I want to be there because I know she wants to be there.
Yes.
But then at a certain point, you know, and it might be a few hours. We might be there 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
But then at a certain point, I'm like, okay, you ready? And then before, when we first met, she's like, yeah, I'm ready. And 2 hours later, we're still at this freaking party. And I'm getting ready to rip my hair out. Not that there's much of it to rip out. But like I'd be going crazy. I'm like, all right, we need to get out of here. But now, like so eventually what I started to do is like I would do it earlier. I'd be like, all right, if I say it now, we're going to be leaving 2 hours from now. So we would show up to a party. We'd be there for an hour. And I'm like, all right, let's go.
No, you would not.
Well, knowing that we were going to be there for another 2 hours. But now she understands, like, I'm hanging in there. We'll be there for a few hours. But when I'm like, all right, you ready to go? You know, I can still hang out for another 45 minutes or whatever. But as long as we're kind of making our way out.
It's having that respect for each other.
Yeah.
And that's what it is getting to know each other, loving each other for, you know, your differences, you know, and just growing together with that because his weaknesses are my strengths and vice versa. And now that we know that, we can grow on it. You know, with the businesses, we know what we're great at. We know that I'm great at, you know, the marketing, the social media, you know, doing the things, going out there, meeting new people, bringing in the business, the sales. I got that.
Yeah,
I got that.
yeah.
Taxes, he's got that. Like, you know, all the stuff that's not fun, you know, but planning my day, that's not very fun though, because I love what I'm doing. I enjoy it.
Yeah. You know, something that I just thought of, how does social media affect introverts and extroverts? Like, how is that like different for them? Have you thought about that? Or because as far as like social media goes, like you would do a lot of the Facebook Live. You see, I think a Facebook Live is more of like an extroverted thing because it's live. You're just going, you're doing your thing. Where I don't think I may have done one, and you were probably on it.
Yeah.
If I post a video, it's going to be something that I've already looked at and I'm putting it up. I'm not doing any, you know, just like, hey, let's go for it. Yeah. What do you think about that?
Well, as far as like the Facebook Live, again, you and I, for example, we do have a lot of things we want to share. That's why you're doing this today.
Yeah.
And if you know what you're going to talk about, to me, that's easy. And I like doing it.
Right.
So I like what I'm doing with you today. I like giving speeches. I like giving presentations. Yeah. But then when the questions start coming in, that's the hard part. When you're giving a presentation or a Facebook Live. And I mean, I've written about this. What you can do is prepare the best you can. And
kind of know what's going to be coming at you beforehand.
Yeah. And it's kind of hard for us INTJs. We don't like to not know something, right? Am I right about that?
No, like
you don't like someone to ask you something and you not know. So that can be uncomfortable.
No,
being
and I do prepare.
Being unprepared.
Yeah. So
like if I do speak, I try to think about what I might be asked.
Yeah.
So that I can answer those questions.
That's exactly what you have to do. And then, but you can also, you know, if it's a presentation and other people are with you, there might be something that other folks in the room might know. You could ask. There might be, you know, it might be a situation where you can say, "Let me think about that,"
I'm kidding.
or "I'll get back to you." All right, we okay?
You got to tighten the black part at the base. The base
Sorry,
of
people.
shock mount. There you go.
Wait, right here?
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I just messed up his mic. But it was blocking your face.
Okay. All right. So there's things you can do.
That's better.
The other thing is introverts tend to like to express themselves in writing versus speaking. A lot of that's because you like to think, and then you can express instead of, having to think in the back and forth. So I think sometimes social media can actually be a more comfortable place because you can write what you're thinking about. And again, we're all different. If an extrovert has a question, they're probably likely to pick up the phone and call and ask the company their question. The introverts, and then go on the website second. The introvert is more likely to go try and find the information themselves and then call once they get frustrated.
Yes.
So I think
And an
that
extrovert's going to just ask the introvert.
Yeah.
Which happens all the time in this house.
So I think with social media, definitely an introvert might get more out of it because of the writing aspect of it.
So maybe the different types, so if you're maybe for an extrovert, like the Facebook Live type thing, but for an introvert, just like posting, like putting up a post or stuff like that.
And again, the Facebook Live.
We're the creeps on social media.
Yeah.
Don't say anything. We just look at what everybody does.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Again, I like doing that kind of thing, but I just want to try and be prepared as much as possible.
Yeah.
But you also have to get comfortable with not knowing everything, and that's hard sometimes. It's like, all right, I'm not sure. I'll find that out or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to read page 9 of your book. It says, "Be strong. I truly believe there is greatness in all of us. We just need to be reminded of this. Sometimes over and over again. You have amazing gifts. Continue to learn about what makes you special, and don't listen to any discouraging voices. We are not meant to just get by or survive. We are meant to thrive." I loved that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And
Great
that goes
book.
for everybody.
Yeah.
Not
Exactly.
just that's
Everybody.
There's definitely too much getting by, and that's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, it's been awesome having you on the podcast.
Yes.
It's been a lot of fun. It's something that we've been looking forward to, and we'd love to have you on again in the future, maybe.
Absolutely.
And before we get out of here, there's a couple things that we wanted to talk about. We were talking about Thanksgiving and Christmas. We've mentioned before, like we have these thoughts of doing good things, and then before you know it, like we've talked about in the past, like, hey, let's do something for Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Like, I mean, we're not rich or anything, but we have the money to buy somebody else a Thanksgiving dinner that maybe can't afford it.
Yes.
And then the time comes and it goes and we didn't do it.
Right.
For Christmas, like, hey, let's, we could buy a couple bicycles, or we could do buy somebody a Christmas tree or something.
Adopt a family.
And then the time comes and it goes.
Yes.
And then it was a great thought, but we never did anything about it.
So this year we're doing it.
Yes. So for Thanksgiving, what we would like to do is, with your guys' help, if you guys know somebody that is maybe going through a tough time that we can help out. And if you guys would like to help, I mean, we can figure out how to do that too.
Yeah, for sure.
But, send us a message. Let us know who they are, maybe a little bit about, what they have going on. And we would love to give them a Thanksgiving dinner.
Yes.
We'll buy all the sides. We'll buy a turkey. We'll do that stuff.
All that good stuff.
And then we'll let you guys know for Christmas, because we'd like to do the same thing.
So with your help,
yeah, you guys can send us an email at oppositepod@gmail.com, or you can find us at oppositepod on any of the social media. You can just, send us a message, or you can
Facebook,
you can send us a message on Facebook, Instagram, whatever.
Yes. Yeah. So we're excited. I think that's gonna.
Yeah,
be great,
we've been wanting to do that for a while. It's just, we've done it a couple times, but it's not a consistent, thing the way it should be.
Yes.
So, so before we get out of here, David, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, if they want to buy your book and they want to check out your blog, where can they get a hold of you?
Okay, so my website is quietandstrong.com, and the book you can either buy a paperback or a Kindle version at Amazon.
Okay, so you can find the book on Amazon.
Yes.
And if you're going to buy the book on Amazon, you might as well go through the Opposites Attract podcast, pod.com. Go to the Amazon affiliate link.
Yes.
And if you buy it through there, it doesn't cost you anything extra, and it helps us all out.
Yes.
So,
Very good. Very good. Thank you.
And the name of your book again is Minding Your Time. It's time management, productivity, and success, especially for introverts. But again, if you're not an introvert, you live with an introvert, or you have friends or families that are introverts,
Everybody
this
does.
book, it's great for everybody.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So where can people find you on social media? And
I'm on Facebook, quietandstrong.com, Twitter, quietandstrong.com, and Instagram, quiet_and_strong.
all right.
All right.
Cool. So yeah, make sure you guys check David out. You can find us at oppositesattractpod.com. Make sure you go to trustincusa.com, and you can find the legal services and the notary signing services there. Yeah, thank you guys for being with us.
Thank
We
you.
really enjoyed
Appreciate
having you here.
Yes.
And you got anything?
No, just to say, love you guys. Make today count.
All right, we'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.